Torah TV. The world is thinking.
Would anybody here like to give us a couple of sentences on what Milton Friedman saw as the original sin of healthcare?
The original sin of healthcare, I don't know if this is what Milton said, but certainly from our government or policy perspective, the original sin was making health insurance you get through your job excludable from taxation.
Right. That's Milton's position, certainly.
Well,
right.
Milton was 100% right, because that, when added up across all the people who have employer-sponsored health insurance, which is most people in this country, means that none of us are really concerned about the cost, or rather, we're only concerned about the cost to the tune of 1 minus the tax rate.
So, David, obviously the correct thing to do is to repeal that provision, which dates from the Second World War and has been distorting the healthcare market in this country for 6 decades now.
And which president would you suggest to do that?
Which leads me to the second set of conditions under which I want to examine you, which is the constrained condition. You are now an advisor to President Obama, or let's say to a Republican who's putting together his policy positions with the thought of challenging Obama in a couple of years. As a matter of practical politics, which after all is what you've dedicated your career to examining, what can be done and what should be done? Where is the intersection?
I would say that the president has to say, the kind of President Biden may say, look, you have to set the terms of the debate. You have to say that over time this is not sustainable. And so but I'm going to, in the sense Jack Kennedy would toss ideas out, say this may not pass now, but you have to consider it. And the first and the most egregious, the problem is, I think the first thing is to eliminate the tax break given to employers that we all get, because that works against each of us choosing a policy where we make choices based on cost. And until you have that, until you have citizens, consumers, making choices based on affordability and making their own trade-offs, then you're not going to have any possible reform. So given that the healthcare system isn't going to fall apart in the United States for a few years, I think this is an education process. I think it's already started with McCain pushing this issue. Democrats at one time even thought about paying for some of this health care reform by eliminating parts of that. Didn't work out for them, but I think that's where you got to start.
That's a pretty highbrow answer, meaning you have such.
It's not going to happen.
No. Meaning, meaning you have such high regard. You have because I know you well enough, David, to know there are wheels turning in your mind here. You have in your head some model whereby a president or a presidential candidate can start a conversation doing what? Encouraging people in academia who are like-minded, such that 4 or 5 years you can bring by giving a speech, you can bring something into the realm of political reality within a few years.
Think about the conservative movement that you were most affiliated with President Reagan. That didn't start in 1980.
It did not.
It started quite a while before with the candidate, with then Governor Reagan talking about those things, other people pushing those issues. The ideas of Milton Friedman, those ideas came to a point when in 1980 it appeared clear that the government, that we needed to cut back. The government wasn't going to solve all these problems, as had been stated, and you got some action. It seems to me that you really only get these kinds of solutions when the problem really gets bad. The problem with healthcare is it's not quite that bad. You got, just like you said, enough people say, I'm pretty happy with what I've got. Then you propose something that's going to change that. That's harder to do because, what happens to the status quo? But the status quo over time will get worse because costs are not going down.